Your daily interactions with your devices feel like a series of independent choices. You decide where to scroll, what to click, and which stories to consume. But this autonomy is a manufactured layer, designed by invisible architects. This is the front line of a fifth generation war. It is a conflict that has moved off the physical map and into the cognitive and perceptual space of the individual. Modern institutions and digital platforms have abandoned the need for logical persuasion or overt physical force. They have discovered that if you can manufacture a state of unresolvable urgency, the human nervous system will follow wherever it is led. We see the physical toll in the biodigital cage, users sitting hunched and vacant, tethered to a screen-driven dopamine loop that functions as a voluntary form of imprisonment. For the corporations and the state actors managing these realms, the goal is total influence. They aim to keep individuals in the mental fetters, while ensuring the chains themselves remain entirely transparent. By bypassing the rational mind, these systems target the human animal directly. The objective is to turn the sovereign citizen into a compliant node for data extraction. Generative recommendation engines have evolved into biodigital interfaces. These systems no longer wait for you to make a choice. They monitor your biological reactions to predict what you will want before a thought is even fully formed. The hardware in your pocket serves as the primary sensor array. Front-facing cameras and biometric sensors now monitor microexpression, pupil dilation, and heart rate fluctuations with clinical precision. The diagram illustrates a precognitive hit. The user node streams biometric data to the algorithmic model. The systems fire a content packet back, triggering a reaction. Internally, this causes a hormonal cascade. Cortisol and adrenaline bypass the reasoning mind, treating notifications like physical predators. This enables predictive kinematics. Low latency edge computing allows the system to map out and dictate your physical impulses minutes before you're even aware of it. The algorithm monitors the exact millisecond your pupils dilate or your focus wavers. It then injects a precisely timed burst of stimulation to reset your attention clock, ensuring you remain in a state of high arousal compliance. This behavioral sculpting creates a synthetic consensus. By eroding the capacity for critical thinking, the system ensures that individuals eventually mirror the behaviors and values of their feed. In this environment, the nervous system stays chronologically activated because there is no physical threat to resolve. The body never receives a signal to discharge the stress and resets the system. Resisting the loop requires the perspective of the warrior philosopher, an individual who acts as a conductor between layers of existence, translating philosophical insight into the physical discipline needed for sovereignty. This resistance is built on an internal operating system, a steady internal state that allows one to observe the algorithm's pull without being compelled to react to it. The warrior philosopher practices transmuting the fear. This involves extracting the useful signal from the nervous system's alarm and channeling that raw energy into deliberate sovereign action. This framework maps out the path to cognitive security. It shows how a disciplined ethos creates the mental coherence and the emotional regulation necessary to serve as a defensive weapon against a hyper-personalized psychological operation. The only effective firewall in an age of weaponized consciousness is a resilient mind that refuses to be reduced to a data point in someone else's experiment. When the cortisol loops are broken and the external noise is silenced, a different signal emerges. This is the true will, the internal sacred core that represents an individual's essential purpose. In this conflict, silence is a tactical asset. The ability to sit in silence is the only way to tolerate the weight of your own conscience and resist the evolutionary pull of the herd. This silence allows for the alchemy of fear. By transforming engineered chaos into clarity, the sovereign individual integrates their shadow and light to achieve unified state of purpose. The system will attempt to use the biological fear of ostracism against you. Evolutionarily, social rejection was a death sentence, and that ancient terror is now weaponized to force your compliance with the collective narrative. By refusing to submit to this social pressure, The order follower transitions into a sovereign creator. This is the shift from passive consumerism to the active production of genuine value and meaning. For the sovereign, technology is no longer an automated leash. The same device that once extracted your attention now functions as a precise instrument, a tool for broadcasting your own truth and building a reality aligned with your true will. Reclaim your biological independence. You can begin by firewalling your mind and taking back control of your nervous system today by downloading the free Fear Transmutation Manual. Modern fifth generation warfare has moved past cognitive influence. It has weaponized the somatic response, aiming to pre-program the way you physically navigate your environment. Pervasive biometric surveillance now blankets our environment. Camera constantly track microexpressions, physical habits, and pupillary responses. This creates a digital net that captures exact physical reactions to targeted stimuli. This diagram illustrates the invisible architecture of that net, the biofeedback loop. Your wearable tech and smart sensors pull continuous physiological data, your heart rate, your cortisol spikes, and feed it directly into central algorithmic engines. Those engines immediately push tailored prompts right back to your devices to keep you engaged. This creates what is known as predictive kinematics because the system tracks your physical state in real time. It can map and dictate your next physical movement before you even form a conscious thought to act. This data consumption has a physical price. Your nervous system is now a terminal for an invisible algorithmic architect. The intended result of this constant tracking is a frictionless environment, a highly controlled mouse utopia. It is designed to domesticate the human animal, smoothing over every rough edge of daily life to ensure automated and questioning consumption. Over time, you form an algorithmic self. You outsource your internal reflection and physical intuition to smart devices. You stop listening to your own body and wait for an app to tell you when to sleep, when to eat, and how to feel. The warrior philosopher introduces an anomaly into the system: absolute physical stillness. While the domesticated masses rush blindly toward the next algorithmic prompt, the sovereign individual anchors themselves completely detached from the digital herd. This frictionless existence operates as a sophisticated prison. It gradually dissolves willpower and strips away biological independence. To maintain the cage, the algorithm relies on the precognition. Platforms serve you content calculated to trigger a physical dopamine response a fraction of a second before your frontal lobe can logically process what you are seeing. This demands continuous high arousal compliance. By keeping your heart rate elevated and your attention fragmented, the system traps you in a state of perpetual reactive motion. You are always reacting, never deciding. It uses spatial computing and nudge tech to enforce a synthetic consensus. You are herded by invisible digital fences and physical barriers, adopting the same behaviors and the same outrage as everyone else in the loop. But this machine has a massive structural vulnerability. Predictive modeling algorithms require constant human action. They need predictable inputs to function. The algorithm's greatest weapon against you is your own unquestioning momentum. So, how do you defeat an invisible enemy that maps your physical impulses minutes in advance? You initiate a somatic halt. You break the predictive algorithmic loop by introducing a null input. You stop moving entirely. By dropping into a deep martial stance, maintaining absolute physical stillness, you introduce chaos into the machine. You deny the algorithm the data set it needs to predict your next steps. By decelerating your physiology, you generate a resonant energy balloon or R-ball. This intense coherence acts as a protective buffer, shielding your internal state and making your next action mathematically invisible to a system that requires predictive momentum. A physical refusal to be moved by the machine is the only counter move the predictive engine cannot account for. Long-term escape from this domestication depends on reintroducing physical friction and struggle into your daily routine. Thinkers like Ted Kaczynski call this the power process. Long before artificial intelligence, historical figures recognized that industrial civilization suppresses human potential by handling our survival needs so completely that we are left with only meaningless surrogate activities. To reclaim your autonomy, you have to sever the biodigital interface. That means stripping away the biometric wearables and the smart sensors that pipe your biological responses into a corporate database. Sovereignty is a daily physical practice. You move only when you choose to move, guided entirely by your own consciousness and true will. Withdraw your sanction from the algorithmic loop. Reclaim your bodily autonomy. This is a return to an ancient archetype. You carry the inner fire, the individual's divine spark, expressed through physical and mental discipline, outshines any technocratic machine. If you're ready to break your domestication, download the free fear transmutation manual linked below. It will give you the exact framework to disrupt these systems of control and master your own mind. You and you alone are the architect of your own nervous system. When the psychological fog of modern warfare shatters and you reclaim your mind, the first sensation is rarely victory. It is breathless silence. You've unplugged from the machine, only to find yourself standing in a massive, isolating vacuum. Civilization markets this state as freedom. We are told that liberty means being severed from all ties, left as an anatomized individual with no constraints, other than the next impulse to be satisfied. Stepping away from the demands of the collective reveals a harsh reality. Independence without a firm foundation is an engineered vulnerability. Without a tribe or a physical anchor, standing on your own can feel like floating in a deep space without a tether. The architects of fifth generation warfare anticipate this exact breaking point. They wait for the weight of independence to become so heavy that you voluntarily return to the safety of their narratives. Psychological sovereignty cannot survive in the mind alone. Without the physical ground, the underground pressure of isolation eventually forces a surrender. To anchor that clarity, the conflict must move into a stark physical space. Step onto the mat. This environment is used to build a somatic firewall. It is a biological layer of defense designed to prevent the psychological interference from overriding your reasoning capacity. Deliberate physical impact and friction function as an active meditation. This exertion recalibrates the nervous system, pulling focus away from manufactured dread and back into the present moment. The warrior drill begins with a balanced stance, hands up, chin tucked. You step forward, snapping and lead punching and retracting it. You complete the sequence with a lead roundhouse kick, settling back into your stance. This intensity discharges ambient noise. Through this training, your body learns to identify the raw signal of fear and channel that energy into precise kinetic action. When the flesh responds with strength and discipline, it creates a resilient defense that resists external psychological manipulation. This martial discipline provides a foundation for the philosophical framework used to navigate the world. The war philosopher used this sieve of consequence to separate human made constructs from the immutable laws of nature. Under natural law, there are no excuses. There is only direct feedback loop between your actions and the results you must absorb. Operating within this law requires you to take authority over your mind and body, accepting full ownership over every choice in its aftermath. Embracing the sieve of consequence renders an individual resilient to the influence of artificial fear. Sovereignty is an individual journey, but it is not a solitary one. Real power is meant to scale. A self mastered individual acts as a beacon. By holding your ground in the vacuum, you attract others who have also emerged from the psychological void. This creates a foundation for a modern Galt's Gulch. It is a decentralized tribe of equals, united by shared values like integrity, discipline, and courage. These networks operate through agorism, the practice of building counter economies. Individuals trade resources and skills peer to peer, developing businesses that exist outside institutional control. Because these communities rely on voluntary exchange and localized relationships, they remain functional even when centralized systems fail. Building a self-reliant civilization within the shell of the old is one of the most effective ways to preserve human liberty. This global conflict targets your biological nervous system. Constructing a somatic firewall is the first step toward reclaiming your independence and contributing to a sovereign community. Take control of your biological layer. Click the link to download the free fear transmutation manual and begin your training today.